live.
This meeting is being live streamed. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna let you keep messing around because you're the technical person in this relationship. Um,
Yeah.
but hi, my name is Neil Williams. I am a life coach and a plant breeder and the father of 8 children whom I love very, very much. Okay,
That's
so
good.
now we're recording as well. So today, this whole experience, the reason that we are recording this, the reason that we are putting this out on Facebook is because Delphine and I have been meeting now for almost 3 years as accountability partners. And we have read books and we have talked about goals and we've worked through a lot of different modalities in order to improve ourselves. And we were talking about it one day and decided, you know, there's a lot of people out here, out in the world in general, who probably are wondering why they're failing at all of this personal development stuff. And why am I not doing it right? The book says, I mean, you read one paragraph and then there's a huge problem, catastrophic, living on a couch, sleeping with on a couch with only $8 in your bank account, blah, blah, blah. And then in the next paragraph, they're millionaires.
Boom, just like that.
Yeah. Well, we don't often talk about that time in between. The time in between when they were sleeping on the couch and when they became millionaires. That may be years, it may be decades, it may be a whole lifetime. And so Delphine and I decided, why not just put it out there? We're imperfect. We're trying. We're learning as we go. So why not just take off the take off the fear factor and say, this is what we're trying. This is what we've learned. This is what we're doing. This is how we feel about it. Let's share it with the world because there's got to be somebody who could benefit from knowing that it doesn't life doesn't change between one period and the next indent on the page. It changes over weeks and days and months and years.
Years, exactly. It's good. I'm ready. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and so feel free to say if you can hear us correctly, see us, and just comment maybe so we can see if everything's good. So thank you, Neil, for the introduction, and it's
But
so true what you're saying. Yes. So today, like you said, we're going to talk about goals and tools we've tried. And gosh, I think we've tried a lot of things already. We're still working on it. And I think that one of the main things we don't talk about is about the nature of goals and what we think are goals. And sometimes really there are not goals. And of course, there is that famous how I say typology like Bob Proctor uses about the ABC type goals. Do you want to talk about that? How do you see it?
yeah, go ahead and introduce
No.
that.
All right. It's true that Bob Proctor questions a lot, what is a goal? And when you think about it, well, I know that in my former business, for example, I was in the world of project management and they talk a lot about those SMART goals, you know, that specific, achievable, realistic, and when you know,
Measurable
yes, things like that.
and time sensitive.
Yeah, which is good. Time sensitive, it has to be time sensitive. You have to have like a deadline. This is good. But
Mhm.
when you then know that ABC typology, like reachable, realistic, well, this doesn't work anymore. And so according to Bob Proctor, there are 3 types of goals. So you have the A-type goals, like the goals you have already reached, things you've already done that used to be goals. Then you've got the B-type goals, like you think you can reach them, And then you've got the C-type goals. Like you don't know how you're going to reach them, but you really want to reach them. And it's like you have that fire inside of you and inspiration. And this is really, this is a goal because during the process, you grow. And the goal of a goal is to grow. And I think we tend to forget that. So what do you think about that?
You know, you're absolutely right. I love how Sandy Gallagher puts it. It's not getting a house that is your goal. It's becoming the type of person who has the house, who has that particular house, who has this particular job, who has this particular type of income. That's what the big advantage of having a goal is. And I think you're absolutely right. My favorite term in the businesses I've worked in is the B-type goals are called stretch goals. And for me, I always set my stretch goals as, okay, I might have to work a little bit, but really it's just getting more efficient with my time to do what I know what I'm already doing anyway.
And you see that notion of working, and I think there's also that difference because when you work towards a goal, of course you have to work, but it seems there is a way of doing things like an inspired way, and you don't feel like you're working. And this too, I think, hasn't been really addressed, and that you can do things without that, I was about to say the turmoil or the suffering, because it seems we have that paradigm like to get something you have to suffer, you have to work hard. And of course, but when you do things that inspire you, when it's a big goal, when you have that burning desire, like Napoleon Hill says, you don't really feel like, it's that hard. And
so there's a term that and I can't remember who it was, but they came up, instead of hard work, you're looking for heart work.
Exactly.
Because heart work, I'm sorry, I have spent all day working and sweating, and my back hurts and my legs hurt, and my brain has just been taxed to the limits. And when I'm done with that day, I don't feel like I have worked. I feel like I have had fun.
Yeah, but what you're describing to someone else might seem like pain, but as you love doing it,
and that's it. Find something that you play at that other people work at, and you will have found something that will make you a lot of money really easily. So, for example, as a life coach, I enjoy listening to people. I enjoy hearing them talk about their experiences, their lives, and the goals that they want to achieve. Whereas I know people who would rather, just they would rather do anything than listen to someone talk about themselves. And I'm sorry, but for me, teaching English to my kids is not something that I want to do. It's something I know how to do, but it's not something I want to do. It's not playing for me.
Whereas for me, I just love doing that. And this is what I didn't realize, before I I started teaching English, coaching people in English, the French speakers, and I didn't realize how fun it was. And even in my former job, all I wanted to do is I wanted to have my English in my job. Of course, in project management, international project management, you had that part. And I didn't realize how fun it was for me. And now it's true that when I teach English, I just have fun, when I prepare my lesson, when I'm with my students, it's just fun, and I didn't realize that before. Well, I jumped. Amazing.
So when you were in project management, did you ever find that you were regularly setting the A and B type goals? And that's kind of the paradigm that you were working within?
Well, and in project management, well, of course, you have big projects, and supposedly it's a C-type goal. But, I was working in the field of science, so they had those projects that you have to develop. But again, I don't feel like there are those big goals. They know what they can do. They know what they think that they can do. And as you've got, financial support, you have to have like proofs of what you can do and not do. So I think it's more of a B-type goal paradigm we have in that world. I might be wrong. This is my own experience.
I
So,
agree with you 100% based on my experience.
okay. And so this is what I felt like. And of course, what I would do every day, I had you have your to-do list, I had that weekly, monthly, I know I had those big goals, those big deadlines.
Mhm.
And so this is different today. Of course, I've got the list I use in my daily life, and for our weekly objective, there was a time also we used those weekly objectives. Now we have those longer goals and we talk about them weekly. So I think I went from having A-type goals, B-type goals, to now I know my C-type goals, and always keeping them in mind. But it's true that what people don't talk about is that, when you have those big goals, it takes time, and we're frustrated thinking, oh, what did I not do? And it's not about always doing. And I told you about her, I think Dolores Cannon, who talks about her desire to publish one of her first books, I think. And she said, it took me 9 years to get that book published because people were not ready to read my book. But I kept having faith, visualizing, and just, yes, focusing on it.
Yeah.
And that one day it will happen. So I think we're kind of in a hurry always when we have those goals, but sometimes it's not only our job, it's something else. The world has to be ready, things like that. What's your
Yep.
perspective on that?
Well, so I think not only does the world need to be ready, but most of the time I haven't been ready. And so, by the way, we're both suffering from a little something in the throat. So
Sorry, guys.
this is not our natural smooth
No.
sound. But we're taught as little kids in school, just get the next assignment done. And I was never really taught you can become an honor student. You can become a student athlete. You can become something bigger than you are. You can become the most popular kid in school. I was just kind of taught you get what you get, and that's all you get. Don't throw a fit, just roll with it. And so I didn't think that you could change your self-image. I didn't know I even had a self-image. I didn't know that my self-image was actually given to me by my parents. I didn't know all of these factors. And so when I entered into personal progress and personal development, that was the first time that I'd heard the sky's the limit. And I had one coach who said, Neil, what's your greatest dream? And I said, I want to make $100,000 a year. And he said, what? What? You can dream as big as you want. Why aren't you doing $100 million a year? And I said, you need to shoot for the moon, he said. And I looked him straight in the face. And I think I surprised him because I said, that is shooting for the moon for me. I can't even imagine how I'm going to get to $100,000. And mind you, it wasn't very long before he started, or I started looking at it and saying, $100,000, I can do this and this and this. But really, it would be kind of nice if I could have $200,000. And then I got onto a coaching call with somebody, and I said, I want to do this and this and this and this and this and that and those things over there and these things. And she said, and how much do you want to earn? $200,000. Oh, you're going to need a little bit more if you want to accomplish all of these things. And so I went, $500,000. The moon is bigger now. And then just recently, the idea of $12 million, $12.3 million, what would that be like in my life? Whoa, I can actually see that.
And I think you're pointing on something really important, is that we often think that we cannot get this because of sometimes people in our lives, because of that we don't have, I don't know, the first financial basis we need to do things we need. But it really comes to ourselves, and just like you said, that self-image, how we look at ourselves. And this is something people, well, school does not teach that. I'm sorry. So maybe there are more and more people that are going to talk about this, but really how you think about yourself, what you think you're capable of doing, and how important that is really underestimated. And I wish we could really be more aware on that. We have to become more aware about that. I think this is crucial.
I think we are. I mean, look at you. You were a project manager. And then one day the light kicked on because you watched the correct video at the correct time.
Yes, exactly. And then it opened my mind. And even today, I must say, I'm still figuring it out. I mean, I have my English company, I still sing, but it's still, today I want to do hard work and following my urges, what my desire. And this is not something that is taught, and it's not something that is understood. So sometimes I would, for example, right now, and having those health issues, well, I'm not singing, and it's kind of frustrating sometimes, but I think I have so many other things I have to do right now. And just, this is hard for me, following that flow, the hard flow, you see?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see things happen, actually. I mean, just like in the business, of course, we have those, you have to have your plans, financial plans, you have to do the accounting. Of course, you have to do that. But also having faith, you take action, but then you have new clients, you have new things happening, but it doesn't have to be difficult. And I was taught everything had to be difficult. You want something, you have to work hard, and everything
no
is
pain, no gain.
And actually, maybe not,
Well, the thing is, and Abraham Hicks says this all the time, get rid of the pain.
Yeah.
Just go for the gain. I've had to change how I look at the universe, because God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, in the way I was taught growing up is, first of all, you're not worthy. You shouldn't really want anything more than what you've got. You should just be grateful for what you have. And if you look at anybody else and say, wow, I really want that. I want that career. I want that success. I want that happiness. Then you're being envious or covetous. And that's not good. And so you're kind of taught to play small.
because other
And
people get
yeah,
triggered, and because they don't have that vision for themselves. And so why are you pursuing your dreams? And people might look at you like an alien, but what are you doing, for you're leaving everything behind? And yeah, so why are you traveling, why are you doing that? Yeah, but that's part of the game, I guess.
you have the right to be happy.
We really
and
pursue
yet
that.
and yet Wallace Wattles says, if you're happy, don't hang around with unhappy people. In fact, avoid them altogether. And the people that look at you and say, huh, I want to be like him, you become the inspiration for them.
Sure.
And that's Deborah Poneman, one of my mentors. She said, and she gets it from other people, and other people got it from other people, but what you do to the benefit of you, what brings you happiness, actually brings the universe happiness. Because and I've always, you'll have to forgive me, I'm a biology nut, but I always take it back to the cell. A happy cell inside of me is of benefit to my whole organism. An unhappy cell inside of me is called cancer. And we know where that leads.
Exactly.
So we are part of a system. And when we're happy, the system can be happy.
Yes. And this also, that environment, and Bob Proctor talks a lot about this, go on the frequency of your goals. And of course, the frequency is like a radio station, and there are people that are tuning to the same frequency. And when you're with people that are not really in sync with your frequency, then here you can feel, oh, there's something wrong here, because they don't understand what you want, and like, but are you crazy? Or like, no, and you have to like to tune again. And this can be a hard part at the beginning, because you really don't understand, because you're so happy. Yeah, I don't know, I'm going to do that coaching program, I've got my goals. And people are like, really? And just investing money in yourself can be something so not understandable for someone, yeah, who has never done it. And yeah, that's just wasting money. That
Yeah, you're throwing away money on those books, or you're chasing dreams. You're just paying somebody else. I mean, honestly, did your parents or anybody you knew think that traveling to the United States to attend a Bob Proctor seminar was worth the money or the time?
Crazy. And best experience ever. That's why I did it again. Yeah.
Your friends, your family, the people around you said you're crazy, but you know it was the best experience ever.
Yes. And I only went for, this is crazy for the people around me, I just went for 5 days to the States. Who books, I don't know, and an event for like, the event was like 3 days, I think. So I just had time to arrive, to get ready, attend the seminar, and go back. And this was my first time in the States. It was in 2019. And I have that thing, because I couldn't learn English being in the country. I had to learn being in France. And so I was so excited. That's why I travel a lot, because I love to have those experiences in the country, whereas before I couldn't. So, but yes, this time it's so crazy for people to just go for 5 days to LA and then come back, and well.
Yet that one experience has led to you coming back and feeling more confident multiple times now.
Of course, yes. I wouldn't be there talking to you, for sure.
Bingo.
Yes.
And you talk about the harmony. When it's right, it's right. Like I was talking about, I went through 5, 6, 10 different partners trying to find somebody that I resonated with. And I'm sorry, you've been the most easy person talk to in most of my life. We talk about things that, quite frankly, if I went down and talked to the people that I work with about coaching and spirituality, their eyes would glaze over and we wouldn't have a conversation for very long.
See, and this is like we're talking about the radio station, that frequency, because we are, yes, we're just on the same frequency. And once you realize that this is how it should be in your environment, you should only be like on the frequency where you feel good. Of course, you're going to evolve, but then you have to be with people who are willing to evolve too. And so, yes, it's so true what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the difficult parts is that as I set a goal, um, in fact, here's one of the things that I've found very interesting. So Peggy McCall, one of my mentors, taught me about the Power Life script. And we'll probably get taken down from YouTube because I said those words, but I call it my verbal vision board. Yeah, my verbal vision board. And I love it because it's refreshing that goal in my mind all the time. This is what I want. This is what I want. And so I put in my verbal vision board that I wanted a Russian speaking friend and friends from around the world. How am I going to do that? I'm in southern Idaho. Nobody comes here willingly, or so I thought. But then I attended a Bob Proctor seminar online, all online, and they started talking about accountability partners. I said, okay, I'll look one up. I'll try and go with one. I now have a friend in Alsace, France.
Alsace.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Alsace. Alsace. Sorry.
Or picky, but it's true. And I had a similar experience because, and this goes back to almost more than 10 years, actually. I don't know why, but I was still studying, I think. And I was always attracted to the international world, even though I wasn't traveling, things like that, And I wanted to have friends from around the world. But at the time, I was only in France, in Alsace. And so I started posting in English. And how weird did that feel when I started posting in English, And then going on Facebook groups. And I guess it was still the beginning of Facebook and things like that. But first, it felt weird. But I kept doing it. And then I came across those seminars, personal development. But first it felt weird, but I did it though it felt real, And I think that's one of the secrets. You have to do it even though it feels weird.
It felt weird, but did it also feel kind of natural? Like that's
right.
Just like you were being pulled into it.
Yes. I guess there was something to it, of course.
See, to me, I feel like when you get top-down goals and bottom-up goals and SMART goals at work, you're being told what to do, or you're telling your boss what you're willing to do. And that's okay. But I don't think very often we really turn ourselves loose. And just what would I love? Again, I've got a list, 50 things to be, do, and have. And one of my goals is to fill that out every year. What do I want to be, do, and have? And then that gives me a chance to get all of this stuff out of my head and onto paper. And when I do that, I begin to see patterns. Oh my goodness, I want to travel. oh, wow, my kids are important this year. Oh, my goodness. I have, this goal and that dream and that desire that's really sticking out.
Yeah.
That's the goal I need to go for.
And what I love is that I do that too. And of course, every year we see and review our goals. And it's like that same feeling. Sometimes it feels weird because you say, oh, how am I going to do that? And this is the questions you don't have to ask yourself normally. But in this world, we keep asking, how am I going to do that? And this is what leads us and what animates us, which it shouldn't. But each time we do that, and now it's going to be like 4 or 5 years that I'm doing this, I see, oh, I have managed to do this. And I can't even remember how I did it, but I did it. So it works. But when you start doing this, you're like, am I really going to do this? Am I really doing that? And you start questioning. And it's normal. And people in the business tell you it's normal to question. At first, you're going to think you're going to lie to yourself. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
But you forget. Yeah. And then you get reminded, okay. So, but that's, I think, the most difficult part, believing.
Well, sticking with it long enough to believe it. I mean, you're absolutely right. So you and I both know that one of my big C-type goals is to become a life coach and have a constant clientele. Right now it's kind of spotty, but it's good. I love it. But just as I was getting ready to launch into my C-type goal, and I'm super excited and a little bit scared, a lot scared. I was offered a job. Well, that's not the plan. That's not what I wanted. But I began to see, you know what? This is a step towards that C-type goal so that I can value my priorities, which is providing for my family and safety and security. And also, it allows me to support my wife in achieving her goals. And so it felt like, okay, I want to go this way, and now I'm going that way.
And what you're saying, actually, I think this is what we talk the least about in that environment of personal development, is sometimes when things happen like you want them to happen, it's benediction, it's God's will, it's perfect. But then you get that no or that detour and you don't know why, but this is God's protection too. And
yes,
this we forget a lot and we don't understand why. Just like I came back to LA like 2 weeks ago, I had things I wanted to do. Well, what happened? I felt sick. I did nothing there, you see? But that's how it ought to be. I don't know why I was sick. That's it. And I have to learn from that, but keep working on what I had planned. And it's going to be done differently, I guess. So.
Yeah. And I guess that's where I like Abraham Hicks so much, because he's saying, they are saying, whatever happens, that's what's supposed to happen. Katie Byron is another one. You know it should happen because it did. So love what is, don't fight against reality. You should have been sick 2 weeks ago. You should have been sick. And how do we know you should have been? Because you were.
Yes, just accept it.
Yeah. And that's kind of, how I am out at work right now, is I really don't feel excited about much of anything. And yet there was a day when I needed to get something done. And all of a sudden, that excitement just came up. It naturally grew up within me. And I didn't have to fight myself to go and do this nasty, terrible thing. It was so natural of, I really, you know what? it's coming up. I really want to get this done. And I was days early on accomplishing it, but it was fun to watch what happens when I sit down and rather than forcing myself to do the next necessary thing, wait and see what my inspiration tells me is the next most important thing for me, the next simple step.
And this is a good thing too. I think there is a right moment for everything you have to do. And so you don't feel that resistance. And it's true. A hard part of the journey is what we call that procrastination thing. And once you understand that procrastination is not really what you think it is, that there are some emotional blockages that you have to look at to understand it. And I still am looking at things. I think that we're all human beings, and at some point you will have to face that. And once you understand, well, you just accept that, okay, this I have to do. I know it's on my list, and I will just do it when I have to do it. And some of the days you're going to feel like, okay, I can do everything I don't want to do. And it's true, even though, for example, I love teaching, I love what I do, but there are some tasks that are tasks that are related to my business that I enjoy a bit less, but I'm going to do them because I have to do them. But then I set myself an environment that I love with like Zen music and things like that, and I enjoy doing them, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And so that discipline comes in, and then that's when I guess you get those things done, even though they're not the most enjoyable thing in the world.
Yeah, I I totally agree with that. I think if we if we follow our hearts and just believe that the universe is going to put us in the right place at the right time, it'll be taken care of. But I think you're absolutely right. Emotions play a big part in this. So I've written down a goal for a few months now. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I keep writing it down. It's the same goal. And I'm like, oh, I'm such a failure. Oh, I'm so terrible. I didn't get it done. I know what I need to do. I know how to do it.
And you see, I think this is one of Bob Proctor's video in the Thinking to Results program. I think there is one video where he says, you don't need me to tell you what you do, because most of the people, we know exactly what we need to do to get where we want to go. We just don't do it because of those emotional blockages we don't look at. And when you start understanding this, like you say, it's so natural after it.
Yeah. So next time we get together, I'd love to talk about modalities, because there are certain days when I want to do reading. And there are days when I want to watch videos, and there are days when I want to listen to audiobooks, and there are days when I want to do clearings and energy work. The best thing that's ever happened to me is learning to follow my intuition and not beat myself up for not doing this work on this day, but instead doing this work on this day and this work on that day when they actually align.
And I think, like you say, there is something taking care of things in, I don't know, backstage, or it's just sometimes you feel like, oh, today I'm really not feeling good physically, and boom, you receive a text, oh, my student doesn't feel good either, so the lesson is going to be another day. And there is something powerful behind everything, and just that's following your intuition. And there are days I had to say, okay, my body is telling me now is not a good day to do that, and I had to cancel classes because I knew that I wouldn't be good at all teaching that day.
Yep.
And then other opportunities came up, but sometimes you just have to listen to yourself. to go with the flow.
And I think if we learned to listen to ourselves when we're setting our goals, one of the biggest breakthroughs that Bob Proctor gave me was the statement that sometimes figuring out the goal is the
Is the
goal.
goal. Mm.
Yeah, because it had never occurred to me that I could take time and think about, well, what do I want? What would I love?
Yes. Figuring
I
out
don't
what,
know.
yeah, yeah, what you want. And this makes me think of Wayne Dyer because he really is, I think, accurate when it comes to this. We have desires, but where do those desires come from? And he says we manifest what we are, not what we want. And there is a difference. And I guess you're kind of learning from your manifestation. Say, okay, did I really want to manifest that? I wasn't aware I had that in me. Even the people you encounter, the friends you have, sometimes the arguments you face, you don't like
Yep.
them, but you have to learn from them because every person is just a mirror to what you're saying, doing.
Yep.
And as long as the lesson is not learned, well, you're gonna face that same issue.
Over and over and over again.
And the same client, the same student who doesn't get it, who doesn't want to work that way, because
Yeah. Yeah, I'm absolutely certain of that. And, going back to my big C-type goal, I believe that there's a lot of mindset work that I'm able to do right now, worthiness, personal development that I'm working on to help me so that when the time is right, I will be the most effective, successful coach possible. And to follow up, I told you I was in my Power Life script, I wanted a Russian speaking friend. My other accountability partner is Russian speaking. So I got both friends around the world and Russian speaking. And it's just pick something weird, pick something just unique to you. Don't say I want to be rich. Get more specific than that. I want to receive $100 bills. I want to receive a stack of $100 bills. Let that be your C-type goal. You don't know how it's going to happen. But if you visualize it and you see yourself accomplishing it, the idea is going to come into your head. Oh, I need to go this way. I need to invest in this business. I need to call this person. And you're going to start thinking about how to make it happen.
Yes, you get connected to what you want, what you feel you want. And it's true that a lot of goals we have are like material related. We want stuff, we want money, and when actually also works with relationships and manifesting love, friendship, like friends around the world, we did. But
Yep.
those things we don't talk that much about because, like you said, when you have stuff to show to people, it's easier to show the stuff. Yeah, that's what I manifested, and
Yeah.
just traveling. If you knew me like 10 years ago, I was afraid. I never was on a plane, things like that. And today I'm like going back and forth and doing things, traveling a lot. And yeah, but it was something I manifested to.
Well, and you bring up a really, really valuable point. We don't talk about emotional goals. If you're talking about relationships, usually you're talking about finding the love of your life, not repairing a really damaged relationship or figuring out how to get out of a codependent relationship. That's a goal.
It is.
And
And
that
just
takes hard work.
And even, relationship within your family. And
Oh,
yeah, because this is also a big topic. Because when you work on yourself and you feel good, well, this impacts your family too. And generally, the relationships among your family group or among your family is getting better if you're getting better. And this is about the selfishness of, we don't like to talk about it, but you have to think of yourself first, because there is still a lot of I want to save the world. And I've had a friend of a friend, we're talking a lot about that topic, who always wants to save the other person or be the hero at work, things like that. But
yep.
think of yourself first, because nobody's going to save you. You have to save yourself in order to be able to be good and help the others. If you're not feeling good, you're not going to be of any help.
What do they say on the airplane? Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Exactly. And
Because it only takes about 30 seconds for you to lose consciousness, and then you're no good to anybody.
exactly.
That's it. I'll diverge or digress a little bit. My eldest daughter and I did not get along most of her teenage years because I wanted it this way, and that's all there was to it. As I developed, she has been more open to forgiving me and my many, many mistakes. And now I'm working with another one of my children who's having a hard time, and she is supporting me and helping me figure it out because she recognizes how he got there and how I'm trying to, make changes to not repeat what she and I had. And so it's so much fun to develop and grow. And at one time, that was my goal. Work on my relationship with my eldest daughter. Work on my relationship with each one of my kids. Work on becoming the kind of father that I wish I had had.
Mm. Most of the time, it also gets to what we wanted, and then often we project. But I think what's interesting is that there is, I mean, when you start working on yourself, you start understanding other people, because they, oh, I have been doing this. Oh, but how did I feel? Oh, I made them feel that way too. I'm sorry because I never intended to make them feel that way. Then you realize, then you make a step towards them. Say, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I made you feel that way. It wasn't my intention. I was hurt. It came from a hurt place. And when you start realizing your wounds and your patterns, like you said, well, it opens up and you see the patterns in other people. And that's when you see we're all connected.
That's it. When you love yourself, it's easier to give love to others. And so, in my mind, that is one of the big goals that we need to incorporate more often is how do I show myself love? How do I show myself respect? How do I give myself joy and fun and happiness and gratitude? And then it radiates off of you. You don't have to give it. It can't stop but flow off of you. And so that is this year for me, my big set of goals is more emotional than it is finish my office and paint my wall and clean up the house and blah blah blah. I want more. I want more internal peace. I want more happiness. I want more gratitude for what I do.
And this reminds me of Joe Vitale. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I think when people what they want, they think they want money, but what everybody really wants is that peace, happiness. And that where Abraham Hicks says the same thing, focus on feeling good, because all you really want is just feel good, people. And this is when you stop the resistance, because most of the time, like, okay, I want this, but it's not coming, and it's still not coming, and we are blocking it, and we don't even realize, because all those negative energies are like, boom, no, it's not coming yet, because you're not ready, actually, because you need to be like at ease to embrace what's coming for you.
Well, like you said earlier, Wayne Dyer said it. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are.
Hmm.
And so if you're anxious and upset and frustrated, guess what you're attracting?
I hate that, but it's true.
I loved what one guy, and this was with an Abraham Hicks story, what he did. He wrote out his goals and he read his goals, and then he pet his cat, because petting his cat brings him joy. And so he'd read his goals while he's petting his cat. I've got this. Yeah, I feel good. I've got that. Yeah, I feel good.
And I think this is brilliant. And just like what I now do when I have days when I don't have that peace, what I do is I go and sleep. Because I know that when you sleep, the frequency is coming back to like neutral level, or just that flow, natural flow. And this is what you need to just have that peace.
Abraham Hicks said, waking up is the time when you decide whether you're on a high flying disc or somewhere else.
Yes. And sometimes just have to, yeah.
And I absolutely agree with you. I think that is something that we don't do. I mean, look at Thomas Edison. He would sleep during the day in order to get ideas to flow. There were other people who would take naps during the day in order to get themselves back on a solution-oriented frequency.
And how many artists have had inspiration from their dreams? And I remember I was in high school, and I love mathematics, but I couldn't resolve. I had a test that I had to do at home, but I couldn't resolve it. And I had a dream, and boom, the solution came in the dream, you know? So it was like, wow, crazy.
Well, so let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts on goals, goal setting, or wisdom that you've garnered from your experience?
On goals, you mean?
Yes, on goals.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted because I'm hearing, I'm sorry. I thought, no, the cats. No, I'm sorry. It's not here. I'm sorry. So can you please repeat the question, because this is a live event and I was distracted. So please repeat the question.
So do you have any final thoughts on goals, goal setting, goal achieving before we head off to our other lives and other activities?
Thank you for repeating. Yes. So what I can say from my experience is that you have to keep the big goals, cherish them, visualize, and always have faith, and accept that if things are not happening right now, it's because there is a better way or a better time for you, but you just don't know. And you're just like, to me, there is a big power behind everything, and you just have to trust that big power. That's what I would say. What would you say?
Well, mostly I would echo what you just said, because you're absolutely right. You got to keep that big goal in mind. And failure, not only is it an option, but it's a really great teacher. So failure is pretty good.
Well, I think, yeah, it's the same face of the same, it's the same coin, or things like that I've heard already.
Yeah.
So it's part of it.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you, Delphine. I appreciate you, and I
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking to you next week.
Me too. Well, I'm gonna stop right now. So
Yep.
let's see.